This video goes with Kittel and Hoffer lesson 43, focusing on the hishtafel of Chava, as well as the frequentative past. This is the verse for this lesson. Let's begin by pronouncing. V'haya bikrov ish lehishtachavot lo v'shalach et yado v'hechazik lo v'nashak lo. V'haya bikrov ish lehishtachavot lo v'shalach et yado v'hechazik lo v'nashak lo. Let's begin by parsing this form, bikrov. Bikrov is slightly different looking than we're used to seeing it. That's because of this makef, which is attaching it to the following word, ish. So essentially we're creating a construct chain here, bikrov ish. If we remove the construct, then what we see is that this A class vowel, this O class vowel here becomes a long O. So bikrov, short O, becomes bikrov with a long O. So this form is in fact just krov plus be. So this now should look more familiar to us. This is the root karav, kal, infinitive construct, no person gender number, and it has a bet prefix, and it's in a construct with the following word ish. So this means in a man's drawing near, in the drawing near of a man, or more smoothly, when a man draws near. Okay, so now we can look at this second verb form, v'haya. This is fairly straightforward. This is the root haya, and it's kal, affix, third masculine singular, and it is vav reversive. So normally we would translate this, and it will be with a future sense. So then our phrase, v'haya bikrov ish, and it will be when a man draws near. However, we could also translate this phrase with the frequentative past. And the frequentative past refers to actions in the past that are repeated or habitual actions. That is, they occurred in past time, but they occurred more than once. So if we translate in the frequentative past, then we would translate this as he used to, or he would, or he often, or something like that, indicating repeated action in the past. We can indicate the frequentative past with a vav reversive, which we have here, and we can also indicate frequentative past with the prefix form. So we have in this class been most often translating prefix forms in the future, but in fact, as we've said numerous times, this is an imperfect aspect rather than a true future tense. So imperfect means actions that are not completed. So often that is future, but it can also mean ongoing action in the past. This decision about whether to translate as a future or as a frequentative past depends on the context. So if you look up our verse in the book of 2 Samuel, you will see that this is narrating a past story in which Absalom is welcoming people and allowing them to pay him homage. And so this is better translated in the past as a frequentative. So if we want to move this phrase, v'haya bikrov ish, from the future into the frequentative past, then we would translate v'haya as, and it used to be that, or it would happen that. So in the past, but indicating a habitual action. So if we translate v'haya this way, it also affects the way we translate our infinitive construct. So bikrov ish would then become whenever a man would draw near. So there's not just one man drawing near, but there's this repeated action of a man drawing near, and whenever that happened, then whatever else in the verse would happen. So we can translate v'haya bikrov ish then as, and it used to be that, when or whenever a man would draw near. Let's look at this next form. This should be mostly familiar to us, but it'll be helpful to parse. So, lehishtachavot. First thing that we notice here is that we have a lamed prefix. So let's go ahead and note the lamed prefix. The lamed prefix plus this ot ending has frequently marked for us the infinitive construct. Infinitive construct, of course, no person, gender, or number. Now, if we think about the root, this ot ending has indicated third hay roots for us. So benot, shtot, glot, and so on and so forth. So we're thinking that we have a third hay. But there is a question here about what the three-letter root is. Now, before we get too far, we should notice that our chet has its own vowel. So this is not, in fact, an ot ending, but rather a vot ending. So the vav is, in fact, a consonant with its own vowel. Now what this suggests to us is that we have a third hay root that has a vav as its second letter. So this suggests that our root is chava. So the chet, the vav as a consonant letter, and the third hay, which has been replaced by the ot sound at the end. So our root chava, and the infinitive construct, some version of chavot. So if that is the case, then what is our stem? Well, if we remove all the letters that we have accounted for and only focus on our remaining letters, then what we have is hishta. So the hishta is, in fact, a performative, which is indicative of the hishta fail. The hishta is just like hifil indicates a hi prefix. Hishta fail indicates a hishta prefix. So the most common parsing of this is the hishta fail infinitive construct of chava. BDB will parse this for you as the hit pael infinitive construct of shacha, shin, chet, hey, with a metathesis of the tav and the shin. So from hit sha to hishta. This parsing was considered to be the correct parsing until about the middle of the 20th century, and since our discovery of other Semitic languages, we tend to parse it now as chava. So the meaning of this is to bow down. Let's look at the rest of the forms of the hishtafel. The first thing to note is that in Hebrew, the hishtafel occurs only with the root chava. So this is not a major paradigm that you're going to have to recognize in multiple roots. You just need to be able to recognize when the hishtafel occurs with hava. The affix forms in the hishtafel are hishtachava, so our hishta performative, and then chava of the affix. Plural, hishtachavu. In the prefix form, yishtachave. Like in the hifil, the hey here at the beginning has been replaced by a yod, so instead of hishta, you now have yishta. Yishtachave in the singular, third masculine singular, and the third masculine plural, yishtachavu. Vav conversive, vayishtachu, singular, vayishtachavu, plural. Participle, mishtachave, mishtachavim. You do not need to be able to produce this chart, and you only need to be able to recognize the hishtafel of chava when you see it in these various forms. So if we look at this little phrase, lehishtachavot lo, this simply means to bow down to him. Alright, now let's look at this next phrase, ve'shalach et yado. Here's our verb veshalach. This is straightforward. The root is shalach, kal, affix, third masculine singular, vav reversive, and it means, and he would stretch out. Here we're translating in the frequentive past because our governing sentence, vehaya, was in the frequentative past. So veshalach et yado, and he would stretch out his hand. Here we have our next phrase, vehechezik lo. If we look at our verb vehechezik, you may recognize that this comes from a hypothetical form, hechzik. You can hear how hard that is to say, hechzik. So what's happened here is our simple shva under the chet has become an E-class composite shva under the chet. The het typically does not like to have a simple shva. When we get an E-class shva there, it causes our hifil hirek to become a segel. So instead of hechzik, we get hechezik. So what we're looking at is simply the root hazach in the hifil affix third masculine singular with a vav reversive. So in the frequentative past, we would translate this, and he would grasp, or he would grab, or he would hold. So now we can parse this verb, venashak. Simple enough, nashak, kal, affix, third masculine singular, vav reversive, translated to frequentive past, and he would kiss. So if we look at this whole phrase, veshalach et yado, vehezik lo, venashak lo, then we can fill in these missing words. So et yado is simply direct object marker, his hand. Veshalach et yado, he would stretch out his hand. Then vehechazik lo, here we have lo. This is marking the direct object of the verb chazak. Some verbs will take lamed as an indicator of their direct object. So probably vehechazik lo, he would grasp him, or he would strengthen him. We have the same thing happening here. Lo is marking the direct object of nashak, so and he would kiss him. So now we can translate our whole verse. Vehaya bikrov ish lehishtachavot lo, veshalach et yado, vehehazik lo, venashak lo. This we would translate, and it would be that when a man would draw near to bow down to him, he would stretch out his hand, and he would grasp him, and he would kiss him. Alright, so that is the end of lesson 43. Do the exercises for this lesson, and I will see you in class.